Hi there, my name is Chad Trofgruben, and this course is all about Moho and After Effects. In this course, you'll learn about Moho compositions, how to export out image sequences from Moho, then we'll go into After Effects and spruce up the scene with blurs, particle effects, other animations, and we'll also touch on blend modes and how to just enhance the scene, color it differently, and make it pop more for your audience. This course was originally on Udemy and tunefiles.com and is now available here for archival purposes. And I'll leave a link to that original course in case you want access to the work files. Thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something. For this course, I am working off of O1 exporting.moho. Feel free to open up this file, and we are inside of Moho. And the purpose for this is just to export out our scene. This is going to be an After Effects course. But if you animated out a scene in a different piece of software, hopefully you'll find a similar feature which will allow you to do what I'm doing here. I created this scene in a previous Udemy course, and we can take a look here and we can see what it's all doing. And you can view that course if you wish to follow along on how to build this scene. But what I want to do is start exporting things out of this software as individual compositions. And we can do so by creating layer comps within Moho. So to make a layer comp, you'll see we have the layers panel right here, and you have your layers comp button on the far right. And if you click on that, you get some new options. What I want to do is create a new layer comp. Now, when you do this, it'll create a comp for whatever the layers are currently doing. And right now, they are all currently visible, which means if I were to create a comp, I would essentially just be creating a composition that shows everything, which is kind of destroying the point. I want to create separate compositions. So to do this, what I'll do first is pick out something that I want to make as its own composition. And in this case, I know for certain I want to make the character its own composition. So this can be a little bit tedious. I'm just going to come in and hide everything that isn't that character. So coming down here, you could go and hide all your layers. However, I find that it's quicker to do this than to hide them all and then to try to reveal what you need, because as we go through, we're going to need all these layers visible anyway. And so if you go through and hide all layers, you're hiding all the sub layers and the groups, which again can take a while to set up. But anyway, we've isolated out the character. We're just coming in here. We're almost done. Not too much left. And there you go. So now you have just that character, that switch, and all the layers making up that switch. So we can now go up to that layers comp button, make a new layer comp, and we can simply name this character and then hit enter or click OK. So now, just to show you this, if we go to layer comps and I go to show all layers, and let me just come up here and hide that sketch, you'll see all the layers are exposed. But if I just want to show that character now, I can go to that menu and then go down to expose layer comp and then choose character from the list. And now it'll isolate that character, not only when we're working, but we can also choose to export it out separately from everything else, allowing us to piece it together later on in After Effects. So between this video and the next, I'm going to go through and separate out everything into layer comps. And I'll show you what that looks like in the next video. And you can also reference my work file there as well. For this video, I am working off of O2 exporting part2.moho. Feel free to open up this file if you wish to follow along. Now, between this video and the last, I went through and separated out all of the layer comps that we'll need for proper editing in After Effects. So just to quickly show you what I did, let's go over here to the layer comps, click on that button, and then go down to expose layer comp. And here you'll see all the layer comps I created for this project. I separated out the foreground elements, especially from the background elements. So for instance, we have the cloud foreground on its own layer. And this is hard to see. It's actually right here. It's a very pale yellow because it's transparent. But we want that in the foreground so we can control it differently from the background clouds that are behind the mountains and such. So again, if you go to expose layer comp, you'll find those clouds in the back on its own layer. So that's how that's going to work. And you can see I've gone through and did that for foreground smoke. We have background smoke, the sun, the sky, the mountains, the hills, and the character are all on their own layer. Now, the only real exception, and again, this is a case-by-case basis depending on how you've designed your backgrounds, and that is the lava, trees, and rocks. Now, we could go through and separate out the lava, the trees, and the rocks into their own comps. However, because of how we have this set up, because the lava is setting up the effect that these objects, like the rocks and the bubbles, are being cut off, if we were to separate them out and then try to layer them inside of After Effects, they're going to look like this. Now, we could go in and mask things out either in Moho or After Effects, but just by coming in here and doing this, I think we'll be okay because we can still have enough freedom to come in and do some different things with this. So you have that set up now. And the other thing I'll mention before we go to the exporting stage is make sure that you have no filters turned on for any of these. So if we come in here and you look at like the blur radius, I know in my previous course when I designed this set, I had blur radius turned on for certain elements, and I have it turned off now for this particular course because we'll be going in and blurring out things and doing different things like that as we continue. So just keep that in mind. But once you have your layer comps set up, you'll want to use Command B or Control B if you're on Windows to bring up the Moho Exporter. Now, the Moho Exporter is basically a way for you to queue up videos or exports through Moho, and it's great for working with layer comps as well. So you'll want to click on the wrench icon first, and just so you know, when you do this, any file you have opened up currently in Moho will come in here. So if any other file pops up, you can simply click on it and hit delete on your keyboard to remove it from the queue. But just click on your wrench icon. You might get an error like this. It might just be a beta thing. I'm actually not really sure why that happens. But we'll just come over here to the format and we'll choose image sequence. You have your preset set to PNG. And for the render options, you can leave everything as is. But to export to, let's come over here and you'll want to choose a folder for yourself. In this case, I'm going to name it Layer Comp Exports. And I will put it in here, and I'll share this with you in the course. That way you can use these files as I export them out. So once you find the folder that you're working with, you can choose it, and then we can come down and click OK. So now, the last thing you'll want to do before you hit the render button is come up and click on the button next to that wrench icon. This is Split Selected Item by Layer Comp. So you can see now what we have done is created a bunch of different queues for all these layers. And it's going to go through and separate out the layers just like we had them when working inside of Moho. So once you hit the queue button, it will begin and you'll see a percentage at the top. And it can take some time depending on what you have going on, and especially if you have a lot of layer comps and if you have effects on the layer comps. That's another reason why I suggest that you take the effects off, especially since we plan to add effects anyway. It's best to start with a clean slate and then put the effects on as you go. But I will export these out for us, and in the next video, we will jump over to After Effects and begin the process of building this scene there. For this video, I am working inside a new project inside of After Effects. We're going to build up this scene together. So the first thing we'll need to do is make a new composition. So let's go ahead and click on that. Now here, it'll ask you how you want to make this. Now, depending on how you created your scene inside of Moho or wherever you animated it, you'll want to adhere to those guidelines. So in this case, I'm going to do HDTV 1080 at 24 frames per second. And it's only 5 seconds long, this entire animation. So I'm just going to come in and change the duration to 5, and then we can click OK. So now we have a new composition. And basically, this is our scene. We now want to bring in the layer comps we exported from the previous video. If I come over here, I can bring up my file browser, so either Windows Explorer or Finder, and you can see my layer comps are right here. So all I'm going to do is select them all just by clicking and dragging, and then just moving them over to the project panel and releasing. When I do this, it's going to go through and find all the images that were exported out through the image sequence and then sequence them as an animation inside of After Effects. So now we can come in here and just click and then hold and shift and then click to select all of the PNG files. And then we're simply going to drag them down onto the timeline. So now you have all of your layers set up. Of course, things are not quite right. As you can see, we need to go in and rearrange some things. So that's what we'll do in the next video. For this video, I'm inside of After Effects and I'm working off of 03 arranging layers.aep. Feel free to open up this file if you wish to follow along. So now we have all of our layers on this new composition and we need to rearrange it. So this is pretty simple, but it requires a little bit of moving around. So first, we know that the sky is going to be the bottommost layer. And we know this because when we built the scene in Moho, that's how it was set up. So we'll grab the sky and move it so that it's below everything. And that already helps change what we're looking at. So next, we'll come in and we'll grab the hills and we can move those down so that they are above the sky. And we know the mountains will be behind the hills, so we can click and drag and bring those down so that they are below the hills but above the sky. We also have the sun, so let's just click on that and move it above the sky so it's in proper order. We want the clouds background to be near the hills, so we'll bring those down. And you also have smoke background as well, so we can bring that down close to where clouds BG is. Then we have cloud foreground, which we know is going to be in front of everything, so we can bring that up. And then you have the guy, and then you have the foreground smoke, which the foreground smoke will definitely be in front of the guy and of the lava, trees, and rocks. So we can bring that above, and now everything is looking pretty good. It's just a matter of going through, and you can page to make sure everything is looking good. Now you can see we still have a slight error, and that has to deal with our character. I just forgot to bring him above the rocks and the trees and lava. So we can just do that, and you can see now that is situated, and everything is looking pretty good. Now again, depending on what your scene is doing, you might have to go through and do certain things in After Effects, such as different masking or what have you, to get things to work properly. Again, just depending on how complex things are. Now, in our case, we got pretty lucky. This scene is easy to export and then set up back inside of After Effects. The only real sacrifice we make right now, and we can look at fixing this if we want, is this smoke is being covered by the lava. And you can see in the original, if we were to go back to it, this would actually extend down to where this rock is, and they would hide behind this rock. So those are just some things, but overall, it's looking pretty good. And it's something we can work with as we continue to enhance these elements.